It's about that time of year where people start posting their player rankings going into the new season, and the narrative surrounding Byron Buxton in these videos is pretty predictable if you're familiar with the course his career has taken.
If Buxton could play a full season, oh, he'd be so insane, he'd easily be number 2. But because of the injury stuff, I can't put him there. That being said, when he does play, disgusting.
This is beyond obvious, but if Buxton can just play 120 or 130 games or more, he'll likely be one of the top players in the league. But that's a monumental if.
Byron Buxton has not played over 100 games since 2017. Whether it's concussions, fractures, sprains, or strains, it sometimes feels like he gets a new injury every day. He's only played in 307 out of 708 possible games since 2018, which comes out to a whopping 43% rate. This should go without saying, but playing less than half of your team's games over a 4-year span is, suboptimal. And it's not like these injuries have been focused around one particular part of his body. It's been everywhere. In 2018, he suffered migraines and then fractured his toe by fouling a ball right into his own foot while rehabbing from those migraines in the minors. That season was arguably his worst string of luck injury-wise, as he only managed to play 28 games. In 2019, Buxton collided with a wall in the beginning of August, which resulted in a left shoulder subluxation, whatever that means. That would force him out for the rest of a season where the Twins won 101 games and could have very much used his skills in the playoffs. And the craziest thing is that this might be his least violent collision with the outfield wall. Let's look at a couple others. Yes, that is plural. He's a mess, man. If this were almost any player, it would be impossible to consider relying on him as much as Minnesota does. But Byron Buxton is not just any player. He is a straight-up superstar. There's really no other way to put it. He's without a doubt one of the best power hitters in the league. Since 2019, he has the 5th best slugging percentage in MLB. He smacks the goddamn cover off the ball. If you want to peep at a slightly more in-depth stat, you can take a look at isolated power, or ISO. It's a pretty simple metric where you just subtract batting average from slugging percentage in order to get a good image of a player's raw power numbers. For example, 2 players could have the same slugging numbers at 450, but very drastically different batting averages. If player A had a batting average of 350 and player B had a batting average of 250, you can see that player B is an infinitely better power hitter than player A because he has an ISO that is 100 points higher. Buxton's ISO in 2022 was over 300, which made it the 4th best in the entire league. And on top of these ridiculous power numbers, he's one of the strongest defensive center fielders in MLB. In 2017, his lone season where he was actually a qualified player, he won a Platinum Glove, signifying that he was literally the #1 fielder in all of baseball that year. At his peak, he is a top-of-the-order bat who can also be the best defensive player in baseball in any given year. He is insane. Unfortunately for him, his injury luck is also insane. Byron Buxton has been hurt more times than Chris Brown has been accused of assault. There have been plenty of other promising players like David Wright, Troy Tulowitzki, Dustin Pedroia, and Grady Sizemore, who all suffered a ridiculous amount of injuries that derailed what could have easily been a one-way ticket to the Hall of Fame. So why does he keep going? His injuries will add up as he ages, and it will inevitably start to wear on him not just within baseball, but outside of it as well. Playing this sport is going to make his quality of life worse once he's retired. Is that really worth it? At the very least, he should maybe stop playing so recklessly, you know? It could really help him dodge some of his more avoidable injuries. But I wouldn't be talking about him if the solution was so simple, would I? If he was more sensible, he would probably stop playing. But to be honest, he's not particularly sensible. He's engaged himself in a ridiculously foolhardy pursuit of something that it feels like it's never gonna come. Foolhardy may sound harsh to some, and it'd be really easy to shower him in praise about how motivated and strong-hearted he is. But no, I'll stick with foolhardy. It reminds me a lot, weirdly, of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was a figure in Greek mythology who was punished by the gods, forced to keep pushing a giant boulder up a hill in Tartarus for all eternity. That boulder would tumble back down the moment it felt like he was reaching the peak. He could never complete his task. Buxton, similarly, goes to work every season ready to start pushing his boulder. But right as his dominance begins to shine, he falls back down because he slid into first wrong, or he just happened to get hit by a pitch in the exact wrong spot. But he does this for a reason. I can call him foolhardy, reckless, and idiotic for what he's doing to his body, and I would be pretty much right. But he's doing that to himself because he knows what he can be. He knows that he's one healthy season away from completely breaking MLB. All he needs is for something to break his way, for that boulder to finally stop fighting against him, to reach the top of the hill. It may sound absurd. What Sisyphus is doing is ridiculous, and the same can be said of Buxton, but they're both desperately trying to accomplish whatever task has been laid in front of them, even if that task is as ludicrous as endlessly pushing a boulder up a hill, or as simple as hitting a ball with a stick. It is absurd. Life is absurd. But neither Sisyphus nor Buxton have let that force them to give up. And you shouldn't either. It's really easy to look at the absurdity of life and simply give up. But what's the point of that? Why shouldn't you try to do something? Literally anything. Because just like Buxton, maybe you have the potential to do something great, and you just need to finally give your boulder one last push.